Hi, welcome to the Craft Channel. My name's Corinne Brad. I've got something a little bit different today. I've always liked the look of wooden jewellery, but I've never had the patience or the expertise in which to make it. But I discovered some sheets of wood veneer in my dad's shed, as you do, which is basically slices of wood. And so I've come up with some quite nice, well, I think they're quite nice, geometric ideas using just one piece of veneer and alcohol inks, and it makes really light wooden jewellery, so light that I've got quite a large pair of wooden earrings here, and they don't weigh a thing. So you don't need any special tools to do this with. I would recommend that you have a sharp blade in your craft knife, and you can simply use, as I say, a craft knife. And to get this effect, cut along the grain, and rather than do it in one heavy-handed motion, you're better off stroking it 2-3 times. And then you can simply colour the veneer. I'm just putting a piece of white paper on here so that I don't mark my mat. You can colour the veneer with alcohol inks. So you can have a golden oak. You can have literally any colour you like. I quite like this green. And even things like dusky pink comes out as quite a nice exotic wood colour. Before you work with them though, let the ink dry on there, and if necessary put a second coat on. And what you should end up with is a variety of colours, all from that one plain coloured sheet of wood veneer. The way that people assemble veneer is they put it together and they seem to tape it, and it is, especially when you're working on this scale, quite fiddly. So I would recommend that if you can get hold of what's called transfer tape, which is the kind of stuff that you use if you're got a vinyl cutting machine. It's that gridded sticky tape that you lay onto your vinyl to peel it off the backing sheet. If you lay that face down on your mat, and I'm just going to hold the corners down because otherwise it is going to keep sticking to the side of my hand. And I'm just going to do a very simple geometric design, like this one here. So I'm going to start with a square of veneer. So I'm going to pop my square face up onto a grid on my sticky paper. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start assembling the sides. Now these are off-cut pieces, and it's almost like a half log cabin quilt, the way that you put this together. It would help if you... This is why I said I need to stick this down so that it doesn't keep sticking to me. Let's just pop that back where it was. Now the advantage of that gridded paper is you can pop your pieces on. They hold in place relatively well, and you can also check that what you're doing is square. Now, if I had more time, I would actually probably cut these to length much better than I'm doing here. But I'm just breaking these bits off at the minute. And save all your little offcuts, because they really come in handy for other pieces that you're working on. So you've got your design stuck out on this mat, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape the top of this to hold them in place. So they are secure. And then what I can do is I can peel the whole thing off that sticky mat. Leave it like this way up, and then just square up your design. And I'm going to do the whole scoring and snapping technique of getting these sides done, which is fine because we will be sanding these edges in a minute. Let's just get rid of those excess bits of tape. So I've squared that up and I've got rid of the excess tape. And now what I'm going to do is, to give it some sort of stability, is I'm going to paste it onto another sheet of veneer. Now, if this sheet of veneer is starting to crack at the ends, it is one of those things, I don't know how long it's been sat in my dad's shed. But I'm just going to draw roughly around the outside of it. And then I'm going to use contact adhesive. And I'm going to make sure that I've got adhesive on both the base and my piece of work. And I'm also going to use a scrap bit of veneer as a glue spreader, because otherwise you do get glue everywhere. So I let that go tacky while I spread some glue on the back of this. Let that go tacky. Pop it on top of the area that you've already glued. And then really what you would do is you'd wait for that glue to dry before you then just scored down the outsides and trimmed it up in line with the rest of your pendant. But I don't like to wait for the glue to dry on anything. And although this veneer is very thin, it is deep enough that you can use it as a guide, so you don't need to use that ruler again. You can just use the edge of it as a guide to trim up your background. Now, before you take the tape off, what I'd also recommend you do is you glue this back again and you put it, but you turn the grain so that the grain on this sheet is going horizontally, the grain on the back of this is going vertically. So you've got extra stability on that shape and it won't seem to bend so much. And once that glue is dry, you can peel the tape off and you end up with something like this. This is 3 layers thick. But now the glue has dried, that's actually pretty tough. So I'm just going to use an emery board or a piece of fine sandpaper to smooth the edges. And then to make a fixing, to make it into jewellery, like we have here, if you've got a pin drill, then I would use a pin drill, because the veneer is so thin it will split. If you don't have a pin drill, you can use a pointed stick tool that you very carefully make an indentation in. And then you need to be careful with this because this is a sharp scalpel blade. If you put the point of your scalpel blade in and spin around and round and round, it acts a bit like a mandrel almost. Now you can see I've got my finger behind that. At some point I've got my finger behind that because at some point I'm waiting to feel the point of my scalpel on my finger. And this is why, as I say, if you've got some sort of pin drill, don't be tempted to use a leather punch or a hole punch because it will just split your wood. You need to take it slowly and easily. If you think you're near the end, yeah, you can push a pin through there. And then once you've got that pinhole at the back, you can take your scalpel again and wind it round from the other end to enlarge that hole from that side. But it is a case of not applying too much pressure on there at all. The other thing you can do is, once you've got that initial hole, if you've got a bead reamer, like a jewellery maker's bead reamer, which is essentially a round metal foil, you can just pop it in the hole and spin it round. And it will enlarge the hole as much as you like, while also sanding down the inside of it. So there you go. That can be sealed. I mean, if you haven't got any proper sealant, you can seal it with PVA. You can seal it. This is a gloss varnish that's used on polymer clay. I think I used the gloss varnish on these earrings. And it's not too glossy. If you wanted to add more coats of varnish, it would make it glossier. But the other thing also is, if you don't have any veneer and you don't want to go and buy a sheet of veneer, which is very cheap and you can get a lot out of it, if you pick up coffee stirrers from outdoor cafes, you can do a similar thing like this piece here that I'm going to turn into a pendant. You can do a similar thing with coffee stirrers because they're nice and smooth, and actually the advantage with them is you've got that beautifully rounded end, but they are a little bit more difficult to cut. So that's a couple of hacks that I've discovered with working with veneer. And the next project is going to be trying to make a veneer wooden ring, but again, that's a work in progress. I'm going to put my earrings back in, tidy up all my stuff. Hope you enjoyed that, something a little bit different. Please do let us know in the comments if this is the kind of thing you'd like to see. Please do subscribe if you'd like to see more videos. In the meantime, keep safe. Thank you very much for watching. If you've been inspired to create, please share your makes with us in the comments section below. And if you've enjoyed videos by the Crafts channel, hit the like button. Want to see more of us? Then click subscribe. See you next time.